Meet Donna Adelson from Coral Springs, Florida. I want to hear all about you, Donna. Let's go.
Well, I'm a domestic coordinator.
A domestic coordinator?
Yes. I'm responsible for the activities, classes, and lessons of my son Robert, who is 16, Charlie, who is 12, Wendy, who is 10, my husband Harvey, who's in the audience, and my dog Sam.
All right. And how old is Sam?
5.
5. Well, good. Give him our best.
Okay.
Nice to have you here. And this vowels worth nothing. Consonants are going to be worth. Can we get 800? We can. All right. So I'm writing on this. Again, person is a category. Stu, still your turn. Letter, please.
Mustard maker.
Nope, still
Mustard maker.
Stu.
H, please.
Yes, there's one H. Donna.
F.
Yes.
Mischief maker.
Yeah, that's...
Nice.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay, how is everyone? Great show for you today. Special guest, my mother, talking about Donna, and her emails and her personality and how she will do in prison. Because my mother is older and not quite set up, doesn't have a home studio. We pre-recorded this, but I think it's pretty fun interview. But before I get to that, let us get to your comments from the last episode. Eek 4179 says about Wendy and her police interview. I thought it was a tree. What? Greg Isom says, the best part. There are little moments like that where you can tell his inner skeptic is being awoken. What? You drove down what? It's the shortcut to what? Mandolin Wind says, he knew Danny was always treating me badly. Oh, brother, how many times does she feel out the detective by asking or inserting, I'm a suspect, right? Someone wrote, need to watch a few times, so true. She's insidious. Lisa Pulley, 9274 says, Roberta, I find it very suspicious for Wendy being blindsided by this horrific tragedy. She sure knows a lot of questions to ask. In planning for things, if she were really innocent, she would have sat there dumbfounded and just cried. She began straight away asking questions and planting the ideas into the law enforcement's minds. Very insightful and interesting comments. Certainly when I was editing all that video, I was shocked at how many times she asks about this crazy person, always referred to as a crazy person. Makes me think of Charlie's trial where he's saying, well, I think Nazis are just crazy people. Go crazy on them, right? Crazy on you. It was such a ridiculous part of his cross-examination. His support of Donna and her plan, and Donna had really her plan to convert the kids to Catholicism, Although it gets kind of vague in different parts of the emails where it seems like she's also investigated Christian Bible study too, but mostly it seems Catholic, get them baptized, and I already have a tutor for the kids. She really thought through that whole plan to change their religion. And what it says to me is that they had a lot of self-hatred, or she did. I mean, it's just such a contradiction. She insists that her children marry Jews, other Jews, but when it comes time for revenge and to really make Dan's life miserable, she has no trouble selling Wendy on this idea to convert the kids to Catholicism, to punish Danny and to make him feel like he's lost control of his children. And we'll talk about her emails, but without further ado, let me play this interview with my mama. Please hold. My apologies. It's a little bit more. Here we go. Tonight's show, I have a very special guest. Someone I feel like I've known my entire life, my mother. Welcome, Mom.
Hi, Roberta. Wonderful to be with you and your audience.
Thank you so much for doing this. So you read Donna's emails, and the first thing you said to me was she has a criminal mind. Why do you think why did you think that?
Well, I've worked in our local prison for many years, more than 20 years. And these folks who I find very interesting think they can, they're smarter than the system. And so, of course, they're not. And the system has a way of finding you, especially if you commit a murder. They are really looking at you with a fine-tooth comb.
Well,
they think they can just get by and do it, and their laws are not my laws, which I think is what St. Joan thought too. But anyway, they're not St. Joan.
And she got away with it because they used their contacts and their connections. And the first DA said, we're going to stop indicting people with the middle woman, meaning all the poor people go to prison that were paid to do this. The middle woman, the getaway driver, and the shooter, and none of the Adelsons would be arrested. And now this new DA has started prosecuting them, starting with Charlie is doing life in prison, the brother. Now Donna's been arrested at the airport, and we're waiting to see whether Wendy and her father Harvey might be arrested. It's crazy. They could all end up in prison. What do you think? You had a difficult mother-in-law. What did you learn from that, and what do you think the issue is with how do you deal with someone like Donna?
Well, it's all about themselves. They really don't take in what you feel, nor do they care what you feel. It's all about them. And I think that was certainly my feeling about Donna, that she thinks she can just get away with it, do whatever she wants. She thinks she's terribly smart, but I don't think probably she's well versed in the law, but she's a character, a caricature too.
And she's saying, I noticed a lot of projection in these emails. She's saying that Dan only wants his own way, and
that's her way. Yeah.
And Dan doesn't care about the kids. And there's one part where she tries to say, keep track of when he goes on vacations, the few times he has conferences or went to Israel, and try to make him look like a negligent parent. I found that quite shocking.
Yeah. Well, you don't take responsibility for your own actions, so you stick it on your adversary. Quite a common occurrence, I would say.
So Jeffrey Lacoste, Wendy's ex-boyfriend, who was really going to be the patsy for this crime, he said that he'd never seen a family like this. It's like their hobby was hating Danny, that they were all united. What do you think that Donna got out of having such a hobby? Or what do you think the family got out of it too?
Well, hatred has its own, hatred, dislike. It has it kind of feeds on itself and it becomes a big part of your life, I imagine they were very wealthy folks. They had everything. So this was a new diversion, a new part of their being.
And so much, I mean, these are long emails, 9 pages. And she's talking about bribing him. So the whole family, Charlie, the brother, except for Robert, whenever I'm talking about the whole family, I'm talking about everyone but the eldest son, Robert, who estranged himself after he figured out that they were a whole family of murderers. It said that, I lost my train of thought. Hold on one second. The whole family was going to pay to bribe Dan to move to Miami for $1 million. What would you ever, how did the family get so united in seeing themselves as a family? So if my brother wanted a divorce and wanted to bribe his ex-wife to relocate, I would not be paying $333,000 to do it. How did Donna get the whole family to see that, to convince the whole family that this was a family issue, that Wendy's divorce would be a family issue?
Well, I imagine it had something to do with the grandsons, that she wanted to have them close by and to have her family be, a whole family, not a family in Tallahassee and a family in South Florida. So, that I guess it's something to do with family dynamics, that you can be all together, I mean, they're a little bit, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to say clannish, but they want the whole group together.
I've called them cultish. It's a cultish family, very cultish. And she talks about Wendy being an outsider. If she lets Dan's religious influence continue, she will be an outsider, that the kids will want to go to shul and she'll be the one left out. But and she also talks about telling the judge how important close-knit families are, and how having a close-knit family nearby would benefit the children and Wendy. But we know that at this time she's writing these emails, they were looking into hiring a hitman. So where is the self? I just don't understand how they're so unself-aware.
Well, I guess they've been doing this a lot in other ways. Their businesses were very successful and you could cut corners and pay people off and do all these things. And it's always worked. So maybe murder is in a different category that she doesn't realize that she can do. She can do this, she can do that. She's wealthy. And, but murder is a different kettle of fish, I would say. And hiring someone to do what you want done, it's different. But I don't think she realizes that.
How did she get to this? How did this whole family get to this point where they all decided murder was the best plan?
Wow, it's really so bizarre. There's another plan. They could move to Tallahassee and then they'd be all together up in Tallahassee. But I don't think that ever occurred to them. They've got their dental practice. They've got their buddies, their friends. They know how this situation works. They don't know how it would work in Tallahassee. I don't think that ever occurred to them that might be a solution besides murdering their son-in-law, which seems so extreme.
It's so extreme, but she's talking about close-knit family values and what would benefit the boys. And then they ultimately decide, forget the bribe. That will make Wendy look bad in the eyes of her fellow lawyers. The best thing to do is just kill the ex-husband. But I think she gives Wendy this advice. She says, life is tough. If you don't stand up and take a chance, you don't stand a chance.
So never back down. Never back down of this idiotic plan.
Right. And she constantly says what do you think she means by saying it's an act? It's an act. I need you to be an actress. I need you to put on an act. It's not real. We're not really converting the kids to Christianity when we put them in Sunday school and baptize them. It's just going to be an act.
Oh, my. Well, she's really breathtakingly odd. I don't know. Certainly, Wendy did a lot of weeping when the police told her that her husband or ex-husband had been murdered. So maybe she thinks she's a good actress.
Well, she does this fake weeping, and then she's talking at full voice the next second. Within she changes on a dime. She calms down on a dime, which is real crying. You just don't do.
No, you
can't
don't
support your breath. So, what did you think of Wendy's acting?
Not good. Not good. And she always covered her face when she was weeping. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then she looks up. Oh, my goodness. I don't know. These people are really too much.
Too much? Yeah. I agree. But she says something to her, moving forward with a sense of peace. That's giving up. So Wendy must have said, I just want to move forward with a sense of peace. And Donna says, that's giving up. So what is that? What did you take that to mean?
Well, it's a strange word to use, a sense of peace after you've had someone murdered.
Well, this is before that, Mom. These emails were before the murder. So they're just contemplating it. They're just looking into. Okay. So the first hitman.
Well, even contemplating murder not give you a sense of peace, my dear. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. That is so weird. Oh, my goodness.
And she says that Dan wants power and control over the children,
which I don't want, of course. I just want them to go to Sunday school and wear Nazi outfits, so they're.
I just want them to have the best advantages, which is so much of this is about money. They're so money oriented.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm getting a little. Are you clicking something, Mom?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. They're so money oriented. All the advantages, but the father will be 7 hours away, but they'll have all this money advantages, so it'll be better. And she's shocked that the judge doesn't see it this way, that the kids will be better without their father and with the benefit of their grandparents.
So you'll have stuff, but not love. Lots of stuff in Miami, but not too much love. And certainly not any love and care from your dad.
They never say the word love, Mom, in all their phone conversations, even when it's about finding Wendy's new boyfriend and getting her to commit to this boyfriend because he's very rich. They never mention love. They never mention feelings. It's always stuff and power and control.
Love has eluded these folks.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, my goodness.
So do you think the children are victims of these parents and were molded to be like this, or do you think they were born to be like this?
Well, if the older brother escaped these fantasies, these strange things, the doctor.
Strange things? What do you mean by strange things, Mom? The strange personality? Do you mean?
Yes.
Do you mean this murderous personality?
Warped. I think they're warped by power and money. I think they're warped. Yeah, that's what I think. Very warped.
So when Donna got arrested, she said, "Oh, here we go again." What do you think she meant by that? Do you have any idea?
Oh, do you think they committed another murder? Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
I think that she's in their mind, she's a victim. So and she said Dan Markel is haunting her from the grave. So everything's gone badly for her. So it's just another piece of her bad luck that she's getting arrested. Nothing that she did. It's all Dan's work from the grave. That's how I saw that. But I thought it was interesting. And then she said, "This is crazy. You can't do this." So
Lady Macbeth, maybe she's had, Lady Macbeth.
I think this would be a great opera. I've always said, sorry.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, it would. It's larger than life. So peculiar.
And so so you know something from working with people in jail.
Mm-hmm.
She's now in jail and she's complaining about her spork. First, she said all her rights were violated and she had to eat with her hands because she was on watch for ending it all. We can't use that S word, but watch for ending it all. And then when she got off watch, she wanted to keep her spork. Her it's a combination between a fork and a spoon, so they call it a spork. So there was all these control issues around her spork. She's complaining, she's writing complaints that her back hurts, that she needs a chair in her cell and they provide it for her. So she's got a lot of complaints going on in jail. She wants things the way she wants them.
Well,
is that typical? Do you see a lot? Did you see a lot of your clients do that?
No, most of my clients are poor, for one thing, and most of them have been through the system so many times that they know it very well. And they know that, you write notes complaining about this or that, but it's, it takes forever for it to be even read or listened to. It's, she's an entitled creature, she's entitled.
She's she's been breathing rarefied air for too long, is what you're saying.
I am. Yes. That puts it in a nutshell.
So another thing about Donna is her optimism. So when Charlie was on trial, everyone who watched that trial said pretty much there was one concern about one juror who seemed very pro-defense at one point that we might get a hung jury. But 0 people that I knew watching his trial said he's going to win. But Donna and her husband had convinced themselves that he was doing great, that he did great on the stand, that everything was going to be. There's this optimism. What do you think that's about from this family? Everything's always going to turn out their way.
Well, it probably did in other ways, but not for this one. People who are so narcissistic like this can't see themselves. And they have a very, like Prince Andrew in his interview, he thought he had done great. And here it was a car crash interview. And they don't see themselves as others see them. They're just in their own little bubble of wealth and entitlement.
And I think that anybody who's not in it is terrible. There's sort of a family line. And if you don't join in on it, you're not in on the family. Mm-hmm. The thing I don't understand is she was so concerned with her children marrying Jewish spouses. Why then did she say that? Was she so quick to say, just convert to Christianity as an act? Why was she okay? And she said, oh, Jesus, it sounds nice. You get to go to heaven. Sounds good to me, she says in one email.
Oh my!
They have this odd relationship with their Judaism. At 1 minute, they hate Danny for wanting to keep kosher and being observant, but on the other hand, she insists that her children marry Jewish people.
I have no idea, really. I don't have any thoughts about that. My feeling was that she wanted to alienate the children from their father by making them Christian, as he is so religious. But I don't know what that's about. Maybe just looking for get a card free to go to heaven. I don't know. I really have no thoughts about that. Sorry.
Right. When it's convenient,
so weird.
you just church. Right. When it's convenient and you want revenge, which is this family's favorite thing, is getting over on people and making them suckers and winning. Though they're happy to forgo their Judaism. It's just an odd. There's so many contradictions with this woman. How do you think she'll do in prison? Should she be? And what do you think she'll be? Actually, let's take it one step at a time. What do you think she'll be like in trial, in court?
Well, she hasn't too many cards to play. I think she'll try and elicit sympathy and maybe cry. And, I don't think she can play the insanity card, but she's a very devious woman. I imagine she'll think of something that she thinks will work, but she doesn't have too many cards. She's been caught.
Oh, she's caught on tape discussing fleeing to a non-extradition country. I'm not sure if that is admissible yet. I haven't found out. I would think it would be, but who knows? Who knows if that will be let in? It's certainly odd circumstances. And as she's being arrested, she's asking about her warrant. Why she didn't see her warrant? Why wasn't she informed that she had a warrant when she's fleeing? Why did they say? Go ahead.
I don't think she knows much about the law. She knows how to manipulate in the way we all live, but she doesn't know much about the law or about committing murder. I mean, I don't think she knows that.
Good point. So, my second question was, what do you, and I had the same feeling that she's going to be like Harvey Weinstein or coming in a walker. I think she's going to play up her age.
Or Cosby, too.
Cosby going blind. He got very blind before his trial and during his trial. So, how do you think a character like this will do it? Should she be sent to a state prison? How would she do?
Well, aren't there some that are kind of okay? The man Madoff, didn't he rather enjoy being in, those?
That was a federal prison.
So she'll be in a state prison?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most of my clients who I've had are always very fearful of going upstate. They're not great prisons. I don't know about Florida, but where I am, they're not great. How old a woman is she, Donna?
Her husband is 80, and I think she's in her 70s.
Probably. I wouldn't think she'd enjoy. I mean, they're pretty difficult, these prisons. There's no beauty. There's nothing there. You eat. The cells are very small and unpleasant. There was a toilet in them. Oh gosh, I wouldn't think she'd enjoy it. That's to put it mildly.
But how would she get along with other? Would her devious nature be useful?
No, I don't think she's. I think she's too selfish to be helpful, like poor Mrs. Harris was. Who killed that Dr. Tarnoff years and years ago. And then she helped prisoners learn, schooled them and taught them things. She's not going to enjoy this.
No, these people don't help anyone but themselves, really.
That's right. Yeah. No, she's a selfish woman.
Is there anything else that we missed or anything else you want to talk? I mean, all her ideas are so bizarre. Dress the kids up in SS outfits, convert them to Christianity.
Well, she's an imaginative woman. Who else would have thought of these strange things? Very imaginative. You get an A+ for imagination. and carrying. Oh my goodness, what an odd duck.
But now the grandchildren are being raised by, well, not anymore. Now she's in jail, but are being raised by this family, the family that in my opinion, murdered their
father.
Yeah.
Oh dear, some people do not get a good card in life. It sounds dreadful. Poor boys.
I agree.
They're psychopaths. You don't want to be raised by them. They have no feeling.
No, and the one who benefited the most, Wendy, is still walking around a free woman, the lawyer, because she's probably a lawyer, and unlike Donna. So what do you think the difference is between Wendy and Donna? Is there a big difference from
Education, I would guess education.
Uh-huh.
I would bet Donna has not had much education. Maybe, I don't know. But Wendy went to Brandeis, really good school, and
graduated magna cum laude.
Yeah, that's quite good. Yeah, very, very impressive. So that's what I would guess is the difference.
One last question. So Donna constantly fixates on Dan Markel's his intellect to put down. She always says to her grandchildren, Abba, that's Hebrew for father, is so stupid. Your father is so stupid. Why does she constantly harp on the one thing that everybody agreed that Dan Markel was not?
Wow, I don't know. It's so bizarre. I want to bring him down to their own size, to take away his one really shining attribute. I have no idea. It's so peculiar. I imagine she wants to denigrate him in any way so the boys are loyal to her. That's what I would guess.
Last, this is really the last question, Mom.
Okay.
What do you think the kosher food, not having kosher food for Dan Markel and his kosher guests and his rabbi at the wedding was about?
I guess to make him feel uncomfortable that it isn't quite his ceremony, it's ours, and we're going to do it our way. And you be damned, your wishes are not our wishes, and so we're going to do it our way. Kind of high-handed, very very tactless and not very kind way of doing things.
Well, Mom, I'm very glad you're not anything like Donna Adelson.
Me too. I wouldn't want to be her for all the tea in China.
And thank you so much for doing this. I know my audience has enjoyed it.
Oh, I hope so. And lots of love to you, Roberta.
And to you, Mom. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. That was my mom on Donna Adelson. Sorry about the sound. That it was a little low. You're probably all adjusting your volume. But pretty interesting. I thought it was very interesting that my mom thought after she read the emails, she didn't know much about the case. I sent her, she read the emails, Donna's emails, and then I sent her Over My Dead Body, the 2020 special, just to really familiarize herself a little bit with the case, besides what I had told her about it. But she does not have my interest in true crime. So it was extremely nice of her to spend the time on reading Donna's emails. But I was very interested that immediately upon reading her email, she goes, oh, she's a criminal mind. I recognize that mindset from my clients in jail. I thought that was really interesting, but she's not sophisticated enough to really know the law. And it made me think about Wendy, how well Wendy knows the law. And will Wendy ever be indicted for this crime? Pretty interesting. Has she insulated herself enough from the crime? Want to thank Janet Moorcraft. Thank you. Wendy lost the case to relocate to Miami. So when the prosecutor asked her how she felt about having to stay in Tallahassee, Wendy said relieved. What? A liar? And do you remember Janet where she says, I'm still temporarily here in Miami? And Georgia says, well, it's been 5 years. This is paraphrasing, of course. And she says, yes, like it reminded me of people who says they're experimenting with substances, right? When are you really sure? How long are you going to experiment before you fully understand or get a handle on the substance? So she's just weighing her options in Miami for 5 years. Just makes me laugh. There's so many provable lies in her testimony, and it makes me wonder how successful Georgia will be should she try Wendy on perjury charges, because that would get rid of the Castigar issues totally. And my understanding from my legal expert on this case is that they're quite complicated. And he read a lot of case law about it, and it goes into other witnesses, and it's really is a tricky issue. It's not impossible to try her, but it does make it a little bit more tricky. But there's so many provable lies, and it would just be hard. I think the challenge would be to prove that Wendy lied on purpose. And I think you could prove that by showing and just didn't have a bad memory, right? So it's not illegal to have a bad memory. It's not illegal to not remember. It's not illegal to get things wrong in error by mistake. So I think that would be hold on, I have to cough. I think that would be the challenge. Thank you so much, Linnea, for the super chat. I appreciate it so much. It really allows me to spend the time to make these episodes for you. So I pulled up some interesting parts in getting ready for my interview with my mom. And really, I thought it was also very interesting that my mom doesn't think Donna will do well in prison. That I've heard from so many people. Thank you so much, Glenda. Does the way Wendy Adelson perfectly enunciates every single word get on your nerves the way it does mine? Is this an indication of a particular pathology? Interesting. Very observant, Glenda. I am so overwhelmed when I watch Wendy. I think you mean Wendy on the stand. But does she do that enunciation, Glenda, in her police questioning too? Just curious. I think she's very, I don't know what you could say, performative. It feels like she's putting on a performance with her head tilted, her eyes wide open, her mouth a little bit agape. That I didn't concentrate on her enunciation, but I would think that that is part of being very conscious of her image. So when I was listening to my mother's interview, I was asking my mother why Donna cares so much that her children marry other Jews, and why she cares so little about changing the boys' religion, even just superficially as an act, something most people wouldn't do. And I think the answer is because it's their image. They don't want their friends to they want to come across as the perfect family, the perfect Jewish family. Our children married other Jews, other successful Jews. But Charlie, I think his social cachet, it was just enough for him to be a periodontist. So she got just enough narcissistic supply from that it wasn't so important that he get married or that he marry a Jew. He was the periodontist, right? I think he had lower expectations than Robert, but he also didn't marry Bree, Wendy's boyfriend's nanny. He only had a baby with her. It's Miss Lisa, and then fought to pay child support. Great guy. And in these emails, Donna's complaining about child support. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I've been really enjoying your shorts. It's Miss Lisa on YouTube. Check them out. I'm always excited when there's a new one. Lily, thanks so much. Do you think if they arrest Wendy, they may call her lunch friends and stalk the bar party friends as witness? I hope so, Lily. Is that your real name, Lily Flores? It makes me think of Lily in Wendy's book. This is my story, in the book that Wendy wrote. For someone who doesn't like to talk about themselves, she writes a book about her life, a fictional book about her life, and makes a podcast. And I'm still working on that for Patreon. Boy, is the sound on that podcast a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Don't get me started talking about that. Lily, I like your Donna imitation. Thank you, Lily. Thanks so much. I'm just about to do a whole lot of Donna in a second. So I wanted to look at these, just certain parts of these emails that I don't feel have been, there's some famous parts, and then there's just some little parts that I thought were interesting. So I just guess I'll go in order, put some up on the screen while my mom's video is playing. But Ruby, hold on one second. Ruby Dora, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Ruby. I just want to look at your picture for a second. Wow. 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 That is a great picture, Ruby. You got going on there. Okay. Back to Donna. So this is Donna's email that she wrote Wendy. And we know at this time she's making all these plans. This is also the other weird thing. But we also know that Charlie's looking into and actually paying a hit person who ran away with the money. Good for that person, whoever did that. Wise choice. Not like it's a wise thing to steal, but better not to go through with a crime of that magnitude. Like murder. I just would love to be a fly on the wall. I'm sorry, I know it's taking me forever to get to this, but I would love to be a fly on the wall when they all decided, as a family, because I believe that happened, that this was the best plan. I just would love to know how that went down and whose idea it was. My first guest is strangely Wendy and not Donna. So she's talking about the furniture that Wendy, when she got divorced or decided to hit Dan with the divorce papers, she waited until he was on a business trip giving a lecture in New York City, cleaned out the house of the furniture she wanted, cleaned out all the boys' clothes, left the divorce papers there, and then called him right before he was supposed to give a talk and told him that she was divorcing him. And he didn't know where the kids were. or where she was for a while. So she writes, this is what Donna is telling Wendy to tell the judge about why she had to take the furniture and her needs. So the furniture you purchased to relocate to a safe place, you absolutely must emphasize that the only reason you left when he was out of town is because of the threat. You'll leave without the children, without a penny, and just the clothes on your back. It's super important to the judge to get the message that this guy is a big bully. I know she'll be able to read that. And when you submit copies of some of the emails he sent, he feels if he said something, that's it. Well, that's not it. That's Donna. She's calling Dan Markell a bully. She's calling him a bully. Him. And I know that there are two sides to every story. But it's just spectacular lack of self-awareness with this family. It's wild. Order in the court. Thank you so much. Wendy Adelson. So Order in the Court writes, Wendy Adelson, 1,000 tissues. It's so true. Order in the Court. In 1 hour police video, crazy. 1 wipe per, no trash wanted. They all noticed. Interesting. I did notice a lot of tissues on the table. Order in the Court. But that's a great comment. I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that she was collecting tissues so they would all recognize that she was very, very upset about this man who was so terrible to her. This man of great, hold on. Excuse me. Great character, but who is also terrible to her, and so terrible that she has to get the boys away because she doesn't want that influence. There's so many contradictions in that police interview. It's wild. So here's another one of Donna's greatest hits. Here's Donna reminiscing about her mother, I believe. She calls her grandma, so I assume it's her mother or Harvey's mother, but I assume it's her mother. You know, Grandma was one tough and very smart lady. I think about her all the time. And I think about what advice this very intelligent woman, a wonderful reader of people, quote unquote, who loved you more than words could ever express, would say to you. She'd tell you to fight with every bone in your body. Fight for yourself, your boys, and for the best possible life you can have. And so for Donna, fighting is really enacting revenge or standing up for yourself. Anything other than my way is failure for Donna. Getting your total way, and not only getting your way, but punishing Dan Markell. This family does not take criticism, slights, and they don't negotiate at all. The negotiation is total failure for them. So even when Wendy was talking about moving forward with a sense of peace, Wendy sounded like she was really getting beaten up by this because, and rightfully, you can't submit false statements about your finances to the court, especially when you're an officer of the court as a lawyer. It's a big no-no, but she can't help herself. And she's always gotten away with it. I believe, my theory on it, she's always gotten away with it and lied and batted her eyelashes And people have always believed her. Nobody's ever called her out. I think there's really find it very interesting that Wendy really harps on these statements by Dan Markel. I'm the only one who knows what a bad person you are. And as much as I hate the idea of bad people, good people, it's very simplistic. And anytime anyone tells me that they're a good person, it makes me raise an eyebrow. But at the same time, if he said that, Wendy's a really unreliable narrator. If he said that, I can see where it was coming from. Wendy's mask. So many people are fooled by Wendy's image, Wendy's mask. And it's something Jeffrey Lacoste talks about too, is you think she's got it all together until you're around her for a while and you think this woman is very disturbed and unstable. I think that's the word he used, unstable. I'm not 100% sure. That's my words for now. Take it as a paraphrase. Colleen Hahn, thank you so much. Have you picked up on that D and C when testifying always said negative things about Dan as if they were putting him on trial with the jury? So Donna and Charlie. So do you mean that when they played the D and C? I don't think Donna's ever testified. I'm wondering, hey, Colleen, can you tell me who you mean exactly? Hold on one second. Let me move over to just in the regular chat, and I'll catch it. Because Charlie. Oh, do you mean Dan Rashbaum? Not sure who you mean. I'll wait for you to catch up for a second. Okay, I meant Wendy. Sorry, it's okay. Thank you, Colleen. Okay, I just need to know who you meant. That's all. Okay, so back to your comment. Have I picked up on that when Wendy's testifying, she always said negative things about Dan? Always. She loves to talk about the job in Miami he didn't get. And she loves to talk about the money that Dan owed her. Never mind the ring that she stole and said, well, if your great uncle, it was his diamond that it was brought back from the Holocaust. He says he wants it back. I'll return it. And so Dan Markel produced the letter, and she still hasn't returned it to this day. Who does that? It's so soulless. And again, another disconnection from her own Judaism. Mr. C, justice for Dan Markel. I agree with you. Thank you very much. So, one more, and then we can go back to some of these crazy emails. Lila, thank you so much. Roberta, do you think prosecution got them one by one so we, the jury, could see their crime clearly? Maybe in a bunch, Wendy would have tricked some. Yeah, I think Wendy's the hardest to try. Actually, maybe Harvey's the hardest to try. I don't think it started out with that aim. I think the first state's attorney was politically influenced and said, we're going to stop with Katie, meaning we're going to just try all the poor people and the rich people will get away with this. I mean, that's not what he meant or said, but that was what would have happened. Because the Adelsons had been pulling all the strings, and they're very tight with, is his first name Michael Weinstein, the Broward County judge who pulled strings to get Charlie through dental school when he was failing out. So he seems to be a very powerful person in Florida, and I'm sure they know many other powerful people. So it didn't look like they were going to get prosecuted. But now that we have this new DA, I think they first started with Charlie. And yes, I do think they're going in order and they're building on each prosecution. And I think Donna's trials, I think Georgia's going to do spectacularly well, whether she gets a conviction or not. She's so familiar with this case. She's so familiar with the evidence. She's so familiar with the characters like Wendy. She knows how she testifies. But I hope they get rid of that immunity deal through perjury. I know it's very hard to try people for perjury for the reasons I mentioned. It's very hard to prove that someone lied intentionally. But because there's so many lies, take your pick with Wendy's testimony. And even there's so many discrepancies from testimony to testimony as far as what she did, how she drove. Did she drive by the scene? Yes. On one, no. I don't think it would be difficult to do, but I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. Barb Nauman, thank you so much. The ultimate Adelson family irony, the child who ended up as the most emotionally healthy, intelligent, and successful, left Donna. I love how you spell that, Barb. And Have Robert. And I love to read, or I enjoyed reading. I don't read them more than once. Robert's reviews in upstate New York. Boy, do you seldom read reviews like that for a doctor. So if I ever get in trouble ears, nose, and throat-wise in upstate New York, I'm going to him. Sounds lovely. It's just amazing to me that this gene seems to have skipped him. I mean, do you think that, I'm just curious, do you guys think that he was raised in any different way, being the eldest child? I just find it hard to believe that Donna and Harvey lost all their morality after, or their interest in morality after having him or raising him with Charlie and Wendy. And he certainly seems to be the scapegoat now of the family. Yeah, so I hope to do an episode about the family dynamics someday. I think they're very interesting, with Donna being so narcissistic and Charlie vying for her affection and approval and being so morally bankrupt, and Harvey being so dependent on Donna. It's a very crazy family. Okay, so here's another great one from Donna in these emails. So this is her telling Wendy that she's too compliant. She's too easy to say, okay, we'll do it your way, to give in to Dan Markel's wishes. This is wild, just on its face, but okay. You got into this mess with Jibbers being so compliant and non-confrontational with him. If you just keep paying your attorney her $600 per hour and don't fight for what you want, you're no better off than if you had stayed married to him. Sure, you got rid of being unhappy in a marriage, so you don't have to live under the same roof, but he'll still be, quote, in control, unquote, of everything. including what he wanted. Sole control of the boys' religious lives. Why let him? Why not stand up to this fucker? Why not fight? You're not talking about a lifetime of this. You have the boys a very limited number of days before the mediation takes place. This is all part of an act. Please rethink this. Now she gets weepy here. We're all willing to help you to accomplish this. I just hear the violins come in here. And that's all it is, Wendy. An act of defiance that will put a scare into this jackass. It will infuriate him. It won't infuriate a judge that you found Jesus. She can't comment on your religious views. It's freaking insane. And she talks about this act. It's an act. It's an act. And it made me wonder how much Donna impressed on Wendy to act, and how important appearances are, and how important winning is, and not being taken advantage of, because everything other than getting your total way in life is becoming a sucker and being taken advantage of. And being taken advantage of for Donna, that's how she views it. But read that. I mean, we're not talking about a lifetime of this. You have the boys a very limited number of days before the mediation takes place. This is all part of an act. And by act, she means getting them baptized, getting them into Sunday school, taking pictures in front of the church, putting it on Facebook so Dan Markel's friends will call. So public humiliation for Dan Markel, that was part of the plan. Wild. I wonder if they have those books that were so popular in the 70s, How to Get Revenge. It makes me think of that. Okay, so this is Donna's advice on mediation. Wendy, this is all about negotiating. After consulting with 2 attorneys who are both excellent negotiators, one of whom will most likely hire for the financial offer, we are getting the same advice. You must take something from him that he wants. That's underlined. When you intelligently negotiate in mediation, you, quote, pretend, unquote, you want the house, even if you don't. You, quote, pretend, unquote, you want the car, even if you don't. You, quote, pretend, unquote, you want the ring, even if you don't care. You pretend, quote unquote, you want the kids in Catholic school, even if you don't. It's just the business of clever negotiation. It's not what you or we are familiar with, but people in business do it all the time. Both attorneys have said this is how you get what you want. She was talking, of course, to attorneys who don't talk, who can't talk, who are in the circle of trust. More of those attorneys in the circle of trust, right? That Donna's always looking for, people who don't talk. Yay, Life 30 became a new member. Welcome. We have wonderful banana bread here for you. Life 30. Banana bread, it's delicious. And a hug from me, Donna. Seriously, welcome aboard. And thank you. So, I mean, it doesn't stop there. Hold on one moment.
Power. That's
Okay.
Banned. It's banned in some
Okay.
prisons.
Okay. So, so my boyfriend's saying that this is like the 48 Laws of Power book, but it's like the 48 Laws of Donna. And that's what he's saying it is. And that book is banned in many, many prisons. It's basically how to get over, how to get your way, how to manipulate better, that book. So this is like her emails. My boyfriend is saying Donna's emails are like the 48 Laws of Power. Funny, funny. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I think I've read that. Okay, this is the famous part, of course. I just have a couple more. This is the famous part. This is the famous passage. Even Georgia Kappelman read this. But just let's review because it's so it's so over the top crazy. And Charlie's reading this and he's like, "Great idea, Mom. Way to go. I'm all for it." I'm just curious. How many of you would chip in if you had it, if you had the means like Charlie, for your siblings' divorce, to bribe your siblings' ex-spouse to relocate? Just curious. I'm taking a poll. Maybe I'll put that in my community tab and get a more scientific poll or more accurate poll of my audience, but I'm just curious. Okay, here we go. You know, Wendy, most of the wars that have been fought for the last couple of thousands of years have been over religion. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II, wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done, and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance. And it would show Jibbers that he's not in control. If your children are baptized, it doesn't make them Christian. Oh, yeah, Donna? What does then? What does? If they have their fingers crossed, it doesn't make them Christian. If they have their fingers crossed when they're baptized, if they say JK right after they get baptized, it doesn't count, Wendy. But look at this, look at not in control in capital letters. And it's really interesting, the projection. She says, Dan wants control over his boys, religious control. He wants to control their life. No, he just wants to raise his children, Donna. He wants to be a loving, involved father. Shocking new concept to you. But for Donna, she often says to Wendy, you're going to be an outsider. The kids will want to talk about shul and Judaism a lot because they'll be so exposed to it through Dan Markel. You have to put an end to what Donna calls religious zealotry. But I wouldn't dress my cat up in a Hitler Youth outfit. And I'm three quarters Jewish. My mother's half Jewish. My father was a full Jew. But I was raised Quaker. But I wouldn't even think of doing such a thing. It skeeves me out, I think is the word. I find it so repellent. But Donna thinks it will annoy Danny and he'll never know it's an act. Really? Really? Which makes me wonder, what other things that they did to him. So I think I have one more, and I think we can draw this to a close if you guys are up for it. Oh, this is just the best, this one. This is Donna's view of Wendy. Wendy, you don't manipulate people. Oh, it's like you're the handsomest boy in the world. Queen Olive says, she's cooking dinner with earbuds in and I'm making her laugh. I'm so glad I can make you laugh, Queen Olive. So it's like a mother telling her son, you're the handsomest boy in the world. And therefore it is so. Wendy, you don't manipulate people. You're a sweet, kind, caring person. Jibbers is a manipulator. You just need to play a role. What you're doing is jockeying for position. In the end, if you do this and it doesn't get the results we're all hoping for, then you can't blame yourself. You can feel good that you did everything you could do. You can feel good that you did everything you could. I'm not saying that we're not going to continue with hiring an attorney who doesn't talk to negotiate and make a financial offer. Oh, it's so much about the finances. I really encourage you to go to Stephen B. Epstein website to read all of her letters in full. And you'll see it's always money first. You could make more money in Miami. And that you and the boys would have the benefit of a close-knit family. Never mind that they'd be away from their father, but once the Adelsons are there, the family's complete. It's such projection of their own faults. You don't manipulate people. Wendy's the most manipulative. Maybe only second to Donna. I don't know. They may be tied. I've covered a lot of cases, but you don't see this level of manipulation often in true crime stories. You see a lot of manipulation, but this level of manipulation, Jeffrey Lacoste, anyone? That whole setting him up as the patsy, I mean, that's just plain evil. And if you listen to my past episodes, I believe that the plan was for him to come out and say, Wendy told me that her brother looked into hiring a hitman, and have him be looked at as a crazy person. No, and I think Wendy would have gotten great satisfaction laughing and saying, see, you thought you could bring me down, but you just brought yourself down trying to expose me. And of course, a lot of her podcast, hold on, I have to cough. A lot of her podcast is about the same thing. Danny told me this. He told me I was a horrible person and only he could see it because, only he could see it. And meaning he was so mean to me, telling me I'm a horrible person with no cause, just because I didn't love him enough. I think that was really what was implied in that. But really, I think Jeffrey Lacoste would agree. Only the people who've been really intimate with Wendy know the real Wendy. So I just love that, how she says, oh, Jeffrey Lacoste was so crazy. He thought I was cheating. When, according to Georgia Kappelman, she had all these dating apps. It's pretty much been verified that if she wasn't actively cheating, she was looking to cheat. Sky Troop. Oh, 5. Gifted 5. 5. Count them. 5. Roberta Glass. True Crime Report memberships. Thank you so much, Sky Troop. Appreciate it. We got to have a member hangout really soon. I got to get back on Kick too and do something there. I have tomorrow off, so. And everybody see Jennifer Crumbly got convicted? Might return to that soon. Pretty interesting landmark case and landmark verdict, and the jury forewoman is out there giving interviews. All right. So I think that's it. Do you guys have any kind of questions you want to ask me? Otherwise, I'll go right to a letter and we can wrap this up for the night. I mean, what more can I give you? I've given you Donna, the Donna voice, my mother, my cat. What else can I show you guys? Okay. So hold on one sec. I think okay, and I've also given you my boyfriend's insights. He's saying you forgot me. So yes. Yes. Are you planning on covering the Crystal Rogers case? I wasn't. Should I cover that case? If that's the case I'm thinking of, I might. I think I'm familiar with that case. The case I would really like to cover, I don't know how many of you have been following Caitlin Markham, but I've been following that for over a decade. And I had a nightmare about it the other night. That was a case that went cold when it was obvious to me, and I think a lot of people, that her boyfriend at the time was responsible for first her disappearance, and then they found her remains in an area where her boyfriend's family had property. And he's on trial coming up, I believe, in June in Ohio. So that is, if that is not broadcast, that's a case I would really love to cover the trial of. I hope it's broadcast. If it's not, maybe I'll have to go to Ohio. I'm not sure. I think that case is super interesting. Lindsay Chansey. Okay, I'll look into that, Alice. Thank you. Beachy Stacy says, when do you think Wendy will be arrested? Well, we had Dan Markel's lawyer at Christmas saying he thought, and he lives in Tallahassee, he thought it would happen soon, which I found encouraging and uplifting and pretty interesting. But obviously it hasn't happened. I think the priority is getting ready for Donna's trial. Now, Donna is coming up on what I call a status hearing on her case, where they're working out when are they going to go to trial. Does Donna want to waive her right to a speedy trial, which so far she's been insisting that she wants to go to trial as soon as possible. But Dan Rashbaum in his STS interview, and can you guys tell me what happened to Dan Rashbaum's interview on the Deep Dive True Crime channel or Mentor Lawyers channel? So I'm not talking about Carl Steinbeck, talking about the other mentor lawyer that went to Charlie's trial and covers. I thought, I was under the impression that Dan Rashbaum was supposed to give another interview to that channel. Is it in the works? Did I miss it? What happened there? Did he get cold feet after the reception to STS? Does anyone know? Intolerant says, after watching the hearing on Ethan Crumbley's sentencing, I think all 3 of them need to be in jail. The kid is a psychopath, and the parents are the worst decision makers on earth. It's interesting you say that, Intolerant, because I was listening to an interview with Ethan Crumbley's father's baby mama. I hate that expression, but he had a child with her who's now 21 or 18. 18. And she had terrible things to say about both of them. And she fought him for $65 a week in child support, even when she said he was making 6 figures. So it seems to be a pattern of neglecting their parental duties. And she felt it was very appropriate that they were both charged. And she hopes he gets sentenced, and was uplifted by Jennifer Crumbley's sentence. We just hope it doesn't get abused. And it is a slippery slope. You hope that the government doesn't have to start punishing parents and getting more and more involved with parenthood. But if it can prevent, I hope that this will do what everyone hopes it will do. Make parents pay more attention to their children and more attention to gun safety. Bob Carp, thank you so much. May have been mentioned, but are you commenting on the zipped up suitcase murder? Bob Carp, interesting. Sarah Boone, that's coming to trial soon, I would think. Is it? I followed her interrogation and I found it so disturbing. Really, really, really disturbing. One of the darker cases. I found her whole demeanor very, very, very disturbing. And I don't know if I can stomach it, but if it's coming to trial soon, I will definitely check out. If the trial is being broadcasted, I will definitely check it out. Hey, supporting Virginia and Maria. It's okay. It's okay that you missed the beginning. There's always the replay. So, okay. Oh, Top Cat with a hot tip. Rash interview on the 12th of February, I think, on Deep Dive. Thank you, Top Cat. So maybe we'll have a watch party on Kick. That would be fun. For that. I'm looking forward to Rashbaum, and I'm just so curious how Rashbaum, who got so much negative feedback, I didn't respond well to his interview on STS. If he's going to change his style, if he's going to change his approach, I wouldn't think so. I think he's probably going to reveal a whole heck of a lot, as he always does. So it sounded to my ear like he was going to try to convince Donna that she should be patient and cool her heels in jail and give the new lawyer, Morris, time to prepare and get familiar with the evidence. That's what I thought. All right. I think we've done it, guys. Support it. I'm so glad that you can sleep. My mom and I now can't sleep without Roberta. So glad I can put you to sleep. Maria. supporting Virginia and Maria. Oh, I'm getting too close to the mic. I'm sorry, guys. My apologies. All right. Let us, shall we? This is getting a little too relaxed here. Shall we get into the victim impact statement and we can move on? I bet I'm going to get some haters with the complaints on this, on this episode. No one's interested in you, I don't know, farting around in the chat. Dear Judge Wheeler, I am Ian Friedman. Danny Markell was my wife's brother and my brother-in-law. It's now 8 years since his murder, and it's still hard to believe he has been taken from us. His murder has left a gaping hole in our family, one I don't think ever will be healed. Danny was an incredible guy. I first met him when Shelley, his sister, and I started dating. Shelley and I were in law school in Toronto, and Danny had moved to the U.S. to attend Harvard. He was incredibly smart, interesting, and engaging. But he was also down to earth and managed to always have a seemingly endless amount of time to invest in what mattered most to him, his family and friends. Despite the fact that Danny and I never lived in the same city, we managed to build a strong, close relationship, and Danny had a strong bond with me and my family. The credit for this lay mostly with him. Danny always made it a priority to call, visit, and be a part of our lives. I'm so happy he did, and now that he's gone, I miss his smile and laugh, his mischievous grin, and his thoughtful conversation immeasurably. It's hard to capture in a letter, how big a role Danny played in our lives and how massive a wound his murder left in our family and the broader community. So I will just share a few memories. Before Shelley and I got married, I went to visit Danny at Harvard. It was just me, as Shelley didn't join me on that trip, and I got a chance to get to know Danny better and see what a wonderful life and set of friendships, he was building at Harvard. It was the start of a wonderful relationship with a truly special guy. There were many other opportunities after that for he and I to get closer. I remember spending time with him in New York when we were both working there one summer. I remember visiting him when he was living and working in Washington. I remember visiting him with Shelley in Israel when he was doing a Dorot fellowship in Jerusalem. We stayed in his Jerusalem apartment, traveled around the country together, and even went together to Amman and Petra in Jordan. Of course, while we were in Amman, we also hung out with one of Danny's good friends who lived there. Danny, in fact, had good friends just about everywhere. It was amazing, the breadth and depth of his circle of friends. He loved and cared for all of them deeply, and they all felt exactly the same about him. I know of nobody who has touched and impacted so many people in so many corners of the world. As we grew older and both had children, Danny always made sure that my kids knew their Uncle Beau, as we called him, and that his kids knew me, Shelley, and my kids. I remember well the sound of Skype or FaceTime ringing on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and knowing that it was almost certainly meant that Danny was with his kids on almost certainly meant that Danny, with his kids on either side of him or in his lap, was calling to catch up. Those calls were always special, as family members would come in and out of the screen and join the conversation. It was more like sitting all together in each other's living rooms and hanging out than a traditional call. Hold on one second. Okay, thank you. I remember a long drive home from work and having a great conversation with Danny about things and challenges going on in my life and career at the time. He was always curious and interested in listening to what was on my mind, even when he was dealing with all the pain in his life related to his divorce, his ex-wife, and her family. I remember the absolute joy he brought to every family celebration. He was like a kid in a candy store, dancing up a storm at my and Shelley's wedding. He absolutely loved our loud, celebratory Passover holiday family meals in Montreal and had so much fun with his boys. At our eldest daughter's bar mitzvah. Since his murder, we have missed terribly his infectious spirit at so many family gatherings and celebration. Even now, 8 years later, his absence remains a huge, painful wound in our family. I remember trips to the cottage and going with him and his kids to the lamest little amusement park in the small community of Owen Sound, Ontario. But it didn't matter because we were all together and his kids and mine were having a blast. I remember living through the pain and hardship of his divorce and watching him find happiness again. But then he was murdered. He was taken from us and pried out of our lives. Others will talk about what a huge blow this was to the legal community. He had a brilliant legal mind, a dedication to scholarship, and a passion for his students and his many friends and colleagues in faculties around the world. He could have done so much more and contributed so much more to his community. Danny's murder was a devastating blow for our family. I see the sadness in my in-laws' eyes every time they think about the fact that they had their son taken from them. No parent should have to bury a child. No parent should see their child murdered in cold blood. And to make matters worse, they have been effectively cut out of their grandchildren's life, denied the opportunity to have any meaningful relationship with two boys that mean the world to them. This is heartbreaking for them. It is also heartbreaking for Shelley, me, and my kids, who similarly feel the absence of Danny and his kids in our lives. Both Shelley and I come from small families. I have one sister who has no kids. Shelley's only sibling was Danny. The impact and pain of having Danny taken from us at the age of 41 is enormous. It is a chasm in our lives. My kids miss their uncle and only first cousins terribly. As much as Danny loved all the family occasions and celebrations, we also loved having him and his family there with us. Since his death, we have had many occasions for family gatherings, but they are never the same. There is always a large, gaping hole caused by his absence. I try to be a supportive husband and son-in-law. Beyond the emotional turmoil of the loss of Danny, I know my wife and in-laws bear the immeasurable stress of dealing with lawyers, the media, and the justice system, not to mention the suffering we all feel from being denied a relationship with Ben and Lincoln. Every time there is a birthday or holiday and gifts are sent, the pain and sense of loss is rekindled. Every time there is a new legal development or new media story, the wound is reopened. I am told with time things will get easier. That may be true, but the gaping hole in our family's life remains. We have a tradition every Friday night of gathering for Sabbath dinner. There are a number of prayers and songs that go with the evening. Danny had a unique tune for one of the songs. We use it every Friday night to keep his memory alive and to maintain his place in our home, our hearts, and our family. But it's not the same when he's not there to sing it with us, and it will never be. Thanks for listening. Ian Friedman. Okay, that's what I have for today, guys. I'm off tomorrow, but I'll be back Saturday. Have a great night and a great Friday, everybody. See you Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for listening.